I've got 40 years of experience, and I would definitely call myself a relationship expert, not only by going through a lot of stuff of my own personally, but also in counseling and working with the mind and our stories and all of that kind of stuff that goes with all about us and how that affects our relationships. You can read more about me on my website, which at this moment is called epictransitions.ca, but soon to be coming out is melanietruppwellness.com, which I primarily work with women. And that's my focus. And that seems to be my passion, only because I am a woman myself, but also because I think, as I mentioned to you before, women have children, women have sons. Sons become husbands, sons become fathers. And I think that when we can work on ourselves, we can change and help facilitate change in the whole world when it comes to our connections, women, men, all of that stuff.
I wonder how many mothers out there who have, let's say, for example, sons who are looking at them and saying that, you know what, I want you to be everything that maybe your father wasn't, right? Or maybe everything that your father was when it comes to the good part of the relationship. And the reason why I share that is I know that, at least I believe, that the first teachers, instructors of a child is the mother, because you have that bond, you have that connection. And it could be very difficult for parents in general, I would say probably single parents, to make sure that they're not delegating or maybe passing on some of the trauma that they experience in their relationship onto their children. So is that something that you see with the women that you work with?
Yeah, the way I look at it is a son will see how his mother is allowing herself to be treated. Okay. So that's what he's learning. And that's how women will be treated. I mean, if his mother is allowing it, then he's gonna say, then I can probably do it too. I don't want to pigeonhole, the sons, but I think that's a huge reflection. So a mother and what she allows in relationship and how she handles herself in relationship is pretty much setting the foundation of what he can do and what is expected of him in a relationship. So I think that is, again, it's primarily up to her. So if she, let's say, for example, is in a abusive relationship where she doesn't stand up for herself, or she doesn't have a voice, a son is going to look at this and saying, well, that's just the way it is. And so I will become overbearing. I'll become overpowering. I may do this. I may not do this. And it's not cut in stone, but it's either you swing one way or you swing the other way. So I think that a mother has a responsibility to show her son how a woman needs to be treated and what a woman expects. But a woman can't do that if she hasn't done her own personal work and her value and her worth and so on and so forth. And it's not about becoming, a powerful old nag. You know, that's not what I'm talking about, or the one who always wears the pants in the family, like that kind of stuff. But just of her self-esteem and her self-worth and her value of who she is, then she can sort of send that message out to her sons that I am the example of a real woman, and you will then look for someone who is also that. And you will notice if they are not. So if your mother stood up for herself, or she had a voice, but she was compassionate, she was loving, she was caring, she was all of that, the son will probably want to gravitate to a woman who is similar in those traits. If that
So it seems no, like so it seems like the responsibility would be on the parents to set a good example. And I know it can be like difficult, right? Because they're busy, and there's many times where they're like, well, you know what? This is what you should look for: X, Y, and Z. I may not be that, Melanie,
Well,
right?
I think we got to
But you better
stop
bring, right? But you
pointing.
better bring home someone that's like that, because if you bring home a girl or a guy that's crazy, I may have to do something to them.
Yeah, but the apple doesn't fall from the tree, and the old saying, monkey see, monkey do, like if you're just pointing, it's like, parents having a cigarette in their mouth and telling their kids not to smoke. Like, come on. Like if you're not going to be the living example and you're just pointing it out, it's like kids are not going to see that. They're not. It's just lip service. It means nothing. So to say that, not enough time, I guess that's always a pet peeve. Like, when is the time? Make the time. This is important, get your act together so that if I look at the mothers, you have children and children are looking at you and this is what they see, and
Yeah.
this is the example. This is, you can't just point a finger, don't do this. Like, don't, don't do this, even though I'm doing it, you know? I mean, some
Remember,
won't.
no, go
Hmm?
ahead.
I was
Go
going to
ahead.
say
Go ahead.
some kids won't. I don't want to be like that. But trust me, okay? You can say all you want that you don't want to be like that. But sometimes in those moments when you're exhausted, you're tired, or you're whatever, oh my God, I'm just like my mother. Or oh my God, I'm just like my father. So even though you say it, there's still that imprinting is there, whether you like it or not. So that's the responsibility that mothers have for their sons. Yeah.
I've seen some people where they would say, it's interesting. Like you would ask them, would you want your child to bring home someone like you? And the answer is no. And I always found that somewhat interesting, sad, and funny at the same time. And here's why. It's sad because at least the parents are aware enough to know that there's something about them that they need to fix, which they wouldn't like for their child to have
Yes.
to go through. And it's funny in a way because it's kind of like saying that, oh, I know I'm the problem, but don't worry about me. You better you need to get on my level, right? You need to handle me. It's like, you ever been to the zoo and you see like the zookeepers and they're handling the animals?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
similar to that. And it makes me kind of chuckle because I know the changes I went through, but it was a difficult conversation. And simply what I did was I stood in the mirror and I said, what is it that you like about yourself? And I said, Train, what is that you like about yourself? I said the things. What is it that you don't like? And I said the things. What is it that you're going to change?
yeah.
Right. But that takes courage to say that, especially if I'm thinking, okay, I've been at my job for 20 years. I may be late 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. I've been having relationships. They may not be healthy, but they not be successful. But it's like, you know what, Melanie? It doesn't matter how toxic I am. It doesn't matter how much pain I'm bringing to my children or maybe chaos to other people. There is always someone there to
Hmm.
say, yes, I will go on a date with
Hmm. Of course. Yeah. We mirror in what we are. I mean, that's just the reality of it. And that's an interesting thing because we had a workshop this morning and it was about our stories, and instead of being the victim of a relationship that's toxic or a victim of a relationship that doesn't work, or they're not doing something right, or they're doing this and they're doing that, they're doing it to me. This is not my problem. They have the problem. Okay. It's really hard sometimes, but it's the most enlightening thing is to realize that this is mirroring where you are. You're bringing this level of relationship in because this is where you are. And it may be that deep down underneath is a belief system that you're not good enough, you're not worthy enough, or you're not lovable. And trust me, you will bring in someone who will show you what you believe you are. And that's the way it is. So this is what's the huge gift of looking at your relationships with that eye and saying, okay, this is a mirror. What am I doing? Where are my beliefs that have brought this in? What energy level am I living at that has brought this in? And it can be your energetics, it can be a whole bunch of stuff, but you are drawing it in. You are bringing it in. It's not about changing the relationship. If you don't change yourself, you're going to bring the same kind in.